Welcome to Hello Me, It's Me, Vulnerable AF, a podcast hosted by Nikki D. Lovely. That's really just her diary disguised as a podcast, but who cares? You're here for it. Join in as she addresses her self-reflections on life, love, and dating, and gives us all the tea by being more vulnerable than she ever has, with herself and the world. So let's get started in today's episode with Nikki D. Lovely, already in progress.
All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of Hello Me, It's Me, Vulnerable as F. We have a guest today again. Miss Nicole Yvette is here to join us today. This is going to be like more of a just very chill heart to heart. I have been an avoidant. I've been an anxious attachment style. We are going to talk about attachment styles today. Now I'm more secure and healthy. And today we're just unpacking what that means. And Nicole had a couple of questions, and I was like, you know what, girl? Like, let's just come on, do a podcast right quick. Because a lot of times if you have questions, other people have questions, and it's just good to just get them all out there and see how many people we can help just with whatever it is you got going on. And whatever it is I got going on, and so we can just put it out here in the atmosphere. So, all that being said, we're going to pretend like y'all aren't even here and just continue our conversation. Right, Nicole?
Absolutely. I love it here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. So before I started the record button, we were talking about you being online, on social media, and just some of the things that were coming into your timeline because the algorithm was algorithming. Right?
Yeah. Listen.
And you said?
Well, I was saying like I took a 40-day detox. My therapist, first of all, just told me to get off of it altogether.
Right.
I wasn't ready to. I realized I was in full addiction mode to it, but also I was convincing myself like I still want to pursue content creating. I still want to pursue influencing and what kind of options I would have there. So I didn't know if getting off completely was something I should do. But I recognized just on my own that I had to get off because the content that I was consuming was in direct conflict of who I'm trying to become. Right. And I want to become a person that's just really in tune and in touch with what I want for myself and to be authentic to myself. And if loving somebody, even if there's somebody that doesn't love me back is what I believe I should do in this moment, I want to be true to that. Yeah. But I can't if the algorithm is coming down and they're like, girl, he hates you, girl. Don't do it, girl. Normalize getting out, girl. Let me tell you. And then when they're judging you and trying to kick you out on the street, the dating streets, they're not sharing their experience. They're just like they've got to figure it out.
They're coming from their date. They're coming from their bad dating experience. They're coming from their trauma. And let me just back up a little bit because I was telling Nicole that a lot of times I was with her therapist. I'm with your therapist where it's like sometimes you need to just kind of get off the apps altogether because a lot of the content that we're seeing is the content that we agree with, whether it's wrong or right. And most of the time when you're healing, you're looking for content that's going to tell you that you're right versus you're wrong. And you could be wrong in that situation. Or there could be I like to call a gray area. And a lot of people like to keep everything black and white, just like you said. Like maybe I'll put maybe you'll be online and you'll say, I reached out to this guy and he hasn't responded back in 2 hours. Right? And then you have the comment like, he hates you, girl. I wish somebody would not contact me in 2 hours, And it's like, but my boy got things to do. Now, let's say he don't contact you in a day. And you have some people, too, who'll say, oh, he hates you, girl. I wish somebody would not contact me in 24 hours. Well, I'm going to say it right now. The guy that I'm talking to right now, he didn't contact me in a 24-hour period. But then come to find out later, he was an introvert. He's very shy. It took him a while to come out of his shell. He needed to get comfortable with me. He contacts me every day now. But in the beginning, it wasn't like that. And I feel like there are so many women who feel like they're supposed to get everything out the jump, and they haven't shown this man who they are and why he should give 100% right out the jump. I don't know you.
Yeah, they have something to lose too. We think that they don't have nothing to lose, and that they don't need protecting from us. But it's it's bad stuff on both ends.
There's bad stuff on both ends, and I feel like there's not a lot of gray area. It's like it's this all or nothing. There's a lot of people who come out and they're looking for something that they can bond with. I call it trauma bonding. You're looking for in content what you believe, whether it's the right way to do things or not. And I found most people, being from a more healed, secure space, I found most people attached to the negative stuff than they do the positive stuff of what they really should be doing. Because honestly, let's be real, they don't want to do the work. They'd rather complain that the dating pool is trash. They'd rather complain that the people that they're talking about are all avoidance. They'd rather complain that nobody wants to talk to them or they can't get a real date. But if we're being really honest, how much work have they put into themselves? Have they put into the situation? Or are they just expecting? Like, are they just expecting?
They're expecting. I think they're absolutely expecting, because you have so many people that are just kind of like in their homes, just living their best life in their own home. And then they step out there one time. And then it's like it's trash, and then they're like, throw the whole thing away. Whereas when I did get back on the dating scene, I literally was going on like 3 or 4 dates every other weekend. So it's not, and I wasn't meeting, there was some cuckoos, but I wasn't meeting like trash. I was just meeting people that weren't aligned with what I wanted.
Exactly.
But to kind of like piggyback on what you were saying when you were talking about the gray area, my own personal experience, which really made me kind of be more conscious about the direct contradiction that the algorithm was having on me versus what I wanted to be, was I was talking to my therapist about something, that my youngest son's father, because I hate the term baby daddy, but
I don't use that term either. I hate that term.
My youngest son's father, we had just had a conflict, and I had, but because I had been consuming so much, and I had been in this deep belief system that, like, that's when the word was toxic masculinity and narcissistic, and when we were throwing that around, like, goodness gracious, take a shot every time somebody says narcissistic. But
everybody's narcissist. Everybody's a narcissist.
Everybody's a narcissist, and we all drunk because we done took 600 shots because it's been said online like 167,000 times. And so I remember talking to my therapist about it and was like, he's just so, I really believe that he's a narcissist. And she just was like, let me stop you right there. Right? And she, not only did she, rein me in, but she showed me. She was like, if you think about it, it was just a basic conflict. He wanted you to do something. You set a firm boundary and held to it. He honored your boundary. He just got a little bit of an attitude about it.
Right.
And don't you get an attitude when somebody tells you no when you want them to say yes?
Right.
And I mean, the way I looked, you would have thought that there was a literal egg on my face, because I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Like, in essence, compared to what you guys have, where you guys have come, because she's not our counselor, but I would talk a lot about processing a lot with him. She's like, I see growth with both of you. And I was like, and that was really my aha moment. It was like, this time I'm listening to all the buzzwords and I'm jumping on the, the social media therapy train.
The therapy train. Yeah.
And it's like, when you think about these people they're getting on here and they're so matter-of-factly with their opinion. They're not giving space to people's humanity. They're not giving space to people's trauma. They're just saying, like, he's like this, you shouldn't do that. Like you said, it's just black and white. There's no gray areas. They don't give room for everybody to have a different circumstance or a different situation. But
everybody's an expert.
They put it, and everybody's an expert. And that's the part. And then, but the part is when you're consuming it, if you're not in a healthy place, like you were saying, and this is just me preaching to myself, you take it like they are the expert.
Yeah. Yep. Because you don't know any better.
And they could have just had one experience.
Yep. And all of a sudden, what they say reigns supreme. All of a sudden, now they're a dating coach. Yep.
Because remember when Sprinkle Sprinkle came out, everybody was like, oh, this is my new favorite girl, Sprinkle Sprinkle. And it was like, okay, but it's just her one life experience that was applicable for her.
Yeah, it's true, because she's married now. I think it's funny she brings it for all the new ladies. She hasn't been through a Tinder stage. She hasn't been through a Hinge stage. No.
Yeah.
She hasn't
been through this. Swiped.
Yes. But everybody takes her word as king, which is fine. if you're looking to be taken care of monetarily like that.
Yeah.
If that's what you're looking for. I personally have never, I want that. Yes, let's not like, but if that's
Child,
all
listen, I want a provider and a protector, but it doesn't come in the cookie cutter way that she makes it seem.
not in that way. Because for her,
Yeah.
she's like, some people are like, what if he's ugly? She's like, well, what if I don't want to work that day? I don't want to work. You know, it's kind of like, what does it matter? If you don't want to work,
Yeah.
girl, get what you can get. Basically,
Yeah.
like, that's the way she delivers it. It's like,
But
yeah,
that's
no, thank
her.
you.
Yeah, not trying to jump on her coattails, but the point is that that's her experience for, somebody like me. And it's like, no, I still believe in love. I still want to be swept
Mm-hmm.
away.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I'm learning to give up the knight in shining armor narrative and idea.
Yeah.
But I want, what I don't want somebody that's gonna just provide for me, but there's not going to be anything else, or I've got to work extra hard to get to that place because he's like, 30 years older than me, or because he's, not something appealing to my taste.
Yeah.
So I don't believe in calling people ugly. I've only called 2 people in my entire life ugly.
Yeah. I've tried it where it's like, I am not physically attracted to someone, but I've still tried to see how it might pan out because this person is a good person. I'm hoping maybe I can become attracted to them later. And I've realized that I'm just wasting their time and mine, and there's no point in continuing. But there is something to be said about being with somebody that you are attracted to and that you can have those other qualities that you want too. I remember telling one of my girlfriends, I was like, you can have what you want. You can have it all. Why can't you? And then she got married to her guy. And I was like, so why is that not true for me? You know? So I have to hold on to those same things that I'm willing to tell someone else and stop like thinking I have to lower my standards for X, Y, and Z when no, you don't. You just have to be willing to cut that person off so that they can give you room and time to find the person that you really are meant to be with. And it's also about your healing journey too. You have to get to that place where you're healed enough where you're like, listen, I know I deserve this and I know I can find it. It's just a matter of when. Like, you have to get there. And let's go back into our attachment styles. Let's see. You said, what made you realize you were no longer avoidant? There was a question you asked me before I got into this, which was,
I was saying, how do you date now with a healthy attachment versus how you were dating when you were healing from being an avoidant? Fearful? Are you fearful avoidant, or are you just
yes, yeah,
okay?
Fearful avoidant.
As opposed to when you were dating, what was the difference between dating as a fearful avoidant as opposed to now? And I think that's ultimately what made me reach out to you about it, because I was very interested in what that looks like.
I think that's a good question because it's funny because dating as a fearful avoidant, I was a serial dater. I would have a morning, noon, and night date set up. I would have dates set up just for dating. And the really bad part about that is I would have really good men. I've dated some really great men. There was one guy who actually told me that he wanted to get into a relationship with me. He was so sweet. Valentine's Day, he had flowers for me. He took me to this really nice restaurant. He would always take me to nice restaurants, eating oysters and stuff, because that's one of my favorite things to do was eat oysters. And then one day he took me to look over like the city. And I remember asking him, I said, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? And he said, I see myself in a nice house overlooking the city, married to you, taking care of you and your girls. And that scared the shit out of me because in my brain, we were just dating and there's no way anybody could really be serious about me. Like in my mind, I literally thought that there's no way this person could really be serious. I felt like even though I was dating, I don't know what I was looking for. It was really weird. It was just like this blank space of just trying to fill up time and saying I wanted one thing. But honestly, when it came to it, when that was presented in front of me, that was too easy. It was like, oh no, wait, no, I don't want this. This is emotionally available.
It's like, this is not the, what is it, the familiar that I'm used to.
This is not what I'm used to. I'm used to men who are not emotionally available, who are telling me, you know, that they don't want me. I'm used to blaming the dating scene of there not enough good men out here. But now you're showing me a good man, and this good man tells me that he wants me, and he wants me with my 2 kids. That doesn't paint the picture that I had painted for myself in my brain, which was nobody's going to want you. You have 2 kids.
Yeah.
What all they're going to want is something that's flingy. And I think somewhere along the lines, I had convinced myself that that was all I was going to get. And when something else presented itself, it was like, oh no, you're just saying that now. But once you know the real me, even though he's telling me he sees the real me, but I'm still like, oh no, once you know the real me, you're going to leave. Just like every other guy I've been with, you're going to do the same thing. And so I was punishing myself, and I was punishing him for something that he had, you know, nothing to do with. And then for me, I was so insecure, not knowing it at the time, that I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for him. So that was me dating as an avoidant. Okay. It was now emotionally unavailable men. Oh, you best believe I was attached to them because they weren't telling me anything about themselves. Oh, they were intriguing. Oh, like, how can I get this guy to see me? How can I get him to notice me? What do I need to do? How much do I need to pour into this man? He's not giving me anything. He is giving me like attention every once in a while. Like, hey, Nikki, you know, how about you know, like just coming out the woodworks, basically an F-boy. I was okay with the F-boys. But I realized, too, is because I was an F-girl. I hadn't figured my shit out. I hadn't gone to therapy. I didn't know what I really wanted. I was insecure, super insecure. And I was painting this picture of myself that was a self-fulfilling prophecy, basically, in terms of everybody I was dating. So, I took myself off the market for 5 years. I said, I'm not even going to date. I'm just going to heal myself. I'm going to read books, which is what I did. I read a lot of books. I'm just going to like pour into me. I took myself out on dates. I went to so many places. I went to Aruba by myself. I went to Curacao by myself. When I went to Jamaica, it was just me and the girls. So I went on like these extravagant dates by myself. I took myself to Roof Chris, Fleming's.
Come on
all these
now.
different places. I said, I'm going to pour into me the way I want someone else to pour into me first.
Yeah.
Bought myself flowers.
Solo dating and solo traveling is a game changer.
Yes, it is.
Because it's like, I like me.
Yes.
Or you might find out like, I don't, but I want to like me.
And also, I want to get to know myself in these places first. And I'm not going to lie, I would get lonely going. Like when I went to Curacao, I went to a romantic spot. It was like basically a resort for couples. Nothing but couples.
Everybody's sitting down like, oh, we're celebrating our 30th anniversary.
Yep, they sure were.
Nikki, party of one. Your team was ready.
Yes. I went on my birthday. On my birthday, I went to this resort. I will say what I learned though was I was able to like be alone and meet friends, and it just made me more open. They shut down the bar after it was closed. The waiter was like, "Are you by yourself?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I told them it was my birthday. They made me this drink. The chef was a Michelin star chef. He made me some little dish. This was all after hours. The entire staff saying happy birthday to me. So it's one of those like really special experiences that I would have never done if it was just me. If it was me and another guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's when you mentioned a serial dater, I had to pick my lip up because I was like, I literally do. I remember one day I had 3 days back to back. Like it wasn't even like I spread them up like breakfast. No, it was like I got home from one day, hopped in the shower, went to another day, got back home, hopped in the shower. Like I was worn out. Like I wasn't in my 40s because I was just like backing them up back to back to back to back. And I did that when I was on the dating scene before I got married. I did that when I was on the dating scene after I separated and divorced. I haven't been able to do it so much this time around. I mean, I did do it. No, not gonna. Okay. Don't get me to telling a lie. I
Yeah.
did do it when I did get back, call myself getting back out there. I actually did do that 3-day date. But like, I want to say like maybe in the last couple months, I've
Mhm.
come off the sites. Not kind of, I have come off the sites and just,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm taking a break again.
Mhm. You need those breaks.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, definitely need the breaks. But now that I'm still knee deep in therapy, I'm still trying to pour into myself, and then I just got a lot of stuff going on in my personal life where,
Mhm.
I just can't bring somebody in on it. It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense for me to have to explain that situation to them, and I could not explain it to them because it would leave a lot of questions open. So I'm just like, you know what? Let me leave it alone for now
Yeah.
because I'm not in the headspace to try and pursue it anyway.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it makes me think about when you were saying how you had to think about that guy who was ready and you weren't ready for him. I know that I'm still not really ready for whoever I believe my person is.
Mm.
I'm gonna expect him to come in, being healthy attached and being ready, then I damn sure better make sure that I am too. Because the thing about if I'm still struggling with my own fearful avoidant attachment, a healthy attachment, which is what I ultimately want, is gonna flee. They're not even gonna, stick around too much longer because we tend to think foolishly or naively that they'll, live us through it. When a whole point of a healthy attachment is like, no, they have their boundaries, they see the signs, the red flags, and they go. The ones that stick around, you should be very weary
You should
about
be
the
wary of.
ones that stick around.
Usually,
It's
if
like,
they're
I'm
sticking
not
around,
right.
you're trauma bonding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I know I'm not right. What do you want? What's your trauma?
Listen, there's a certain level of I'm in a secure spot now, right?
Yeah.
And being in this space, I can see people who are where I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I come across a lot of them, right? And I've tried to, in the beginning of dating those types of people, I try to have a little bit more patience because as a secure, you do have a lot more patience with those people, especially if you come from either being anxious or avoidant, which I've been both.
Okay.
But you also know there's only so much you can do. And if that person isn't willing to put in the work to do it, then it says bye. It's a very healthy I'm going to have to release myself from this situation because there's nothing I can do here.
Yeah.
So just as you said, the people who stay, you have to be a little weary of because sometimes you can't find a secure who's just like, oh, I just want to see you through this. But from what I found with those people is they typically have like a lower self-esteem. And it's more of just like, I want somebody to be with right now.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to stick with you because you're my person and I'm lonely. They have other issues. It may not be like it's an anxious attachment style. They can still be secure and have self-esteem issues.
Yep.
And it's like,
Really?
I don't want that either. Yeah.
That's interesting because I kind of thought they were synonymous. Because I know that I am struggling with my own self-esteem issues. And so I guess I just kind of attributed anything that's not secure attachment to having some self-esteem issues and that even imagine that could be a possibility.
There's a difference. So usually what it is more so you're dealing with more secure, emotionally available. So I'm just emotionally available to you. That doesn't mean that I don't have my own insecurities that I'm going through as a secure attachment. Now me, I've cleared those. But I have run across some secure attachment styles who just have more of an insecure, they're just more insecure inside, but they're secure as an attachment. It's kind of like if you leave tomorrow, they're okay with that, but I want to be here for you today. But they don't have like an anxious or an avoidant attachment. It's just they're still secure with you. They just have self-esteem issues. Those are two totally different things. They're emotionally available for you though. So that's the thing. You want somebody who's emotionally available for you and who's secure in terms of their self-esteem as well.
Right.
You don't want someone with low self-esteem. But
I remember years ago, back in my 20s, pre-kids, pre-divorce, pre-marriage, all that stuff. I was going to this Bible study that was like a marriage Bible study. But the whole
Mm-hmm.
purpose of it was to invite singles into it
Mm.
so that they can minister to the singles on their journey to finding somebody, which I thought was a pretty brilliant idea, because most of the time singles are out there, guiding singles. We're just aimlessly wondering,
I know, right?
like, if I want to be married, shouldn't I be around married people to see what it's
Right. And
really
how did
like?
you get here? Listening to
Exactly.
them and how they got there. Exactly.
How they stayed there, getting a realistic idea of
Mm-hmm.
what it looks like. And so I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed, going to this Bible study. But one of the things that he was saying, the leader of the Bible study, he was saying is that a lot of times when we're attracting to people, either when we're attracting to them or attracting them to us, it has something to do with that little kid inside of us that was traumatized and
Mm-hmm.
trying to relive it and refix it. And that's why
Mm.
relive it and fix what we couldn't fix
Yep.
instead of just parenting that little
Little kid
little
inside of
kid,
you.
because that
Mm-hmm.
little kid needed a parent in that moment,
And
or they
didn't
needed
get
a
it.
protector, and they
Mm-hmm.
thought, and we foolishly, or not foolishly, but we unfortunately go into our adulthood thinking that it was our fault for not advocating for that little kid, when how could they possibly, we can't
Right.
fathom that. Like, no
Mm-hmm.
6-year-old me couldn't stand up to mom when she said B and
Exactly.
C. It was, in what world? You don't
Mm-hmm.
even see that in the movies.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but there's this subconscious thing that goes on, or this dichotomy that goes on inside of you, where it's the little kid that still hasn't been parented, that's
Mm-hmm.
trying to pull in all these people that remind you of that, whatever, that parent, teacher, sibling that caused that trauma, so that you can try and fix it.
Mm-hmm.
The cycle continues, and this just is really the same person over and over again, different faces, different names, whatever, but it's the same person over again, because you're still
All over again. Every
that.
person. It's amazing. You can find the same person in a different body. Once you
Exactly.
haven't healed that trauma, it's like, oh, I got rid of this. And then you bring the same person in.
Mm.
Maybe a little bit better. Maybe because you learned a small lesson that last time, but it was just
Yeah.
one lesson. And the rest of it,
You didn't learn all the
you
lessons.
didn't learn all the lessons.
I learned 1 out of 12.
Yes,
And you think, like, I should be good, right? 1 is good. 1 out of 12 is good, right? You're like, no,
no,
no, not even 10 out of 12 is good. You need to learn
exactly.
them all.
Yes, I realized I had to take off that 5 years for myself
Mm,
because, and I always say this, I went from the sewer to the street. My
mm,
first ex-husband was the sewer. He took me through
mm,
the trenches. He was the trenches.
mm.
And when the last like long-term ex I had, which was Amaya's father, when I got with him, I was like, I remember telling my dad, like, this was a compliment. He's not my ex. I remember just thinking, he's not my ex. And I had listened to a lot of the things that he said and took them as
Um,
the holy grail. The only difference with him and my ex was that he didn't cheat. And because he didn't cheat, I was like, I've made it. I've arrived. And I went from the sewer to the street thinking I had arrived. Here I am thinking I've
yeah.
arrived. I'm walking on the street now. Walking on the street. I'm
Mm.
on the street.
So it's kind of like,
I'm
what,
like,
from the, what do they say, from the pan to the fire, from the frying pan to the fire?
oh man. Well, all I thought was I was doing better. I thought like, oh, this is better. But I tell Maya, our first date girl was at a Del Taco. He didn't even have any money. And here I am trying to do that struggle love, like, oh, it's okay. I can love is all that we need. I can love
Mm.
you through this. Just like a dummy. Going back looking at it. Like I would never date
I
like
don't
this.
ever want struggle love. May struggle love never find me again.
Again, ever. May it never find me again, ever.
F struggle love with the capital F.
With the capital F, girl. I tell the girls, I'm like, no, don't ever do that. Like, and a man will try to bring you down to his level because he's afraid to come up to yours. And
Yes.
don't go down there with him. Don't ever go down there
Oh
with
my
him.
God. Nikki, that lesson was the hardest to learn.
Mm.
The way I learned that lesson was and I hate to put him out there again, but my youngest son's father, we had a conversation where he was like, he didn't believe he deserved me. And
Mm.
I thought in my avoidant attachment, insecure,
Oh, that was
struggling
a
with my
compliment.
self-esteem issues, I thought I thought it was a compliment, but more specifically, I thought that if he knew, he would do better.
No, that's what I'm
He
saying.
would
You look at
like,
it as a compliment because he
yeah,
knows. He
he
knows you're
knows, but
good.
it was more like, no, come down here with me. And it was
Yes.
more like a humbling experience. And I'm not by no means bashing him because we both brought dysfunction to the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But learning that lesson that if anybody from here on out, if anybody ever tells me, I think you're too good for me, I'm going to believe them and
You should.
run for the hills. I'm never going
Always.
to ever. That lesson, I learned it, and I will never not learn that lesson again.
Yes, indeed.
Because it was a long process of realizing, like, no, it's humbling. No, cutting you down, bringing you down, because, like you said, it's too hard for them to rise up. They don't
Mm-hmm.
want to,
Oh, they don't want to. No, it's not that
or
it's too
more,
hard. They don't want to.
yeah,
Yeah.
or more specifically, I was thinking like a woman. Because
Yeah.
women, if I was with somebody that I thought I wasn't worthy of, I'm going to do everything in my power to think. Ironically, I thought I wasn't worthy of him, and I didn't think I wasn't worthy of him emotionally. I thought I wasn't worthy of him physically,
Physically.
because
Yeah.
he was on
Fine.
his worst day.
Fine.
This
Fine.
boy could compete with Michael B. Jordan. That on
Right.
his worst day, he could
Right.
get with the best of the stars that hit the red carpet. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I've
Exactly.
been with some lookers, but this boy was fine. And so
Yeah.
I convinced myself that I wasn't worthy of him because of his looks. And so I tried
Mm-hmm.
to compensate in everything else. Everything
Mm-hmm.
else. Like, I was trying to prove myself. And so I
Of
foolishly
course.
thought he would try to prove himself as well. But meanwhile, he's just, no,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
come down with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until I was way down there before when you realize how far down you are, a lot of times it's too late.
Yeah.
Not too
Oh, it's
late,
too late.
but
Oh, yeah, it's too late.
you
You're
realize
like, oh,
you're like,
shoot. You look up like, that's
I'm,
going to take a while.
I'm in the sunken place. Why did
I might, because
Yeah.
that's going to take a long time to get me back up to
Yeah,
that.
exactly. I'm not
Yeah.
climbing up that, and
I'm
without
not
a
climbing
rope.
back up there.
Nah.
We'll just stay here. I'll just stay here with him. Yeah. No.
I can do it. It's not that bad.
I
I'll take
think
half
that's
of
one of the
it.
major reasons why I was like, no. You said something earlier, which is exactly what I thought, which was I have to get myself in a place where if I run across my future husband and he's already in his place, that I can know him when I see him and be emotionally available for him. I was like, I have to do that. And at the time, I didn't want anything to do with any guys at all. But something in me was like, if you keep doing the work, you're going to get to a place where you're ready and you are going to want to be with someone who's on the same level as you. During that 5 years, like, oh, I don't even want anybody. Oh, I'm good. Oh, this is good. I don't even want anybody. I'm good. I remember telling my homegirl like that, the one that got married. I'm good. And she's like, you don't want anybody? I'm like, no, I'm good. I've been there, done that. I'd rather be by myself than be with somebody who basically is coming from the sewer to the street. And the reason why is because I knew I didn't want to be on the street anymore. And I felt like until I had healed myself, I was only going to attract street people. I was going to only attract the street people. So I was like, get myself together. And now that I'm in a space, believe me, it didn't come. When I first started dating, it wasn't easy. I think I told you I was anxious. I turned anxious. Once I had done all my healing work, now I'm anxious talking to people because I haven't dated in 5 years. I don't know how to do this from a space where my heart is open. Now I have a bleeding heart. Before I was protecting it. Now it's like, oh, I have so much love to give. I'm ready for my husband. Oh, he's coming.
Me.
Oh, he's coming for me. Not knowing that just because you date somebody who says that they want something doesn't, they still have to prove it to you.
Yeah.
And so you're still going to go into meeting these men who think they want something and they're triggered and they're emotionally unavailable and they're avoidant. And now I'm like, and not knowing this, that's how I started reading the book Attached, is I was in my anxious moment dating someone who was an avoidant and he's running away from me. And I'm like, but I was also afraid too, because I didn't want to put myself out there more than they were putting themselves out there. I wanted to put myself out there, but I'm like, why aren't you putting yourself out here? Because so I can feel comfortable to put myself out there. And he was like, why aren't you putting yourself out there so I can feel comfortable to put myself out here? But did we ever say that to each other?
No, of course not.
Of course not. So what happens?
Yeah.
He's over here. I'm over here. We're both waiting for a phone call. We're both waiting for a text message that never happens. Nothing ever happens. We both want the same thing, not willing to do the work. And then once I learned that I felt safe with emotionally unavailable people, because I'm still emotional. Anxious is still emotionally unavailable. Avoidant is emotionally unavailable. Once I realized that I was still attracting emotionally unavailable people, I said, what is it about me that is still attracting these same type of people? Because we only do what works for us. Why is this working for me? What is it that I'm getting from this? And I realized very early on, I was still holding some emotionally unavailable traits where I didn't want to talk about myself. I was still afraid that if I said certain things, that person would judge me. That person would walk away from me. That person would be afraid. So if they were emotionally unavailable, guess what? They don't talk about those things. And that makes it very safe for me to not have to talk about those things too. So now we're in a relationship with very superficial, very surface level conversation. We're just pretending to be in a relationship, but we're not talking about the things. We're not talking about the things that moved you, the things that shaped you, the things that made you who you are. The vulnerable space is what I like to call it.
Yeah.
If they're not willing to get to that vulnerable space and you're not willing to get into that vulnerable space, y'all both still have a lot of work to do.
Listen, I have a love-hate relationship with vulnerability.
Of course you do.
I want it, but I secretly flee from it because it is such a very unsafe.
It's very unsafe space as an avoidant.
Man, like you said, imagine being in a marriage.
Yes.
For 7 years.
Yeah.
Emotionally unattached to each other, not talking about anything. Like 95% of our conversations were memes.
Very surface.
I mean, extremely surface. It was memes, maybe a little bit of the bills, laughing and joking about something that our family did or the kids did, but there was no depth. And whenever I did try to and ignite a deep, meaningful conversation, it was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? We've never been this.
Yes.
Like, you're right. Dang it, you're right. Okay, let me back off until it was like, no, I think I do want that. I think I should want that.
Yeah.
I think there's something there, but also, being afraid. I learned about myself that as a child, vulnerability was not safe.
Exactly.
In my family structure.
Your first emotionally unavailable people were your parents.
And who were parented by unemotionally
indeed
parents.
Yep.
And so it's like when you think about generational cycles, they pass down knowingly and unknowingly.
Yep.
And then a lot of times we kind of wash them away with like, well, they just did the best that they can with what they had, or, they didn't have access to the same amount of information that we do. It's like, yes and no. Y'all still here though.
Yeah.
Y'all still here. If I could do
the
work.
They still here and they still not trying. And still not trying to do better.
You can still do the work with me. Yeah. What are we talking about?
Yeah. My dad made a joke. My daughter said that she had a bad day at school and she went to go talk to the school counselor. He was in the car. And then I said, well, how was your day today? He goes, it was fine. I went to work and I went to go talk to the school counselor. And I was like, did you really? And he's like, no. I was thinking, but you can and you probably should. Did you talk to a therapist? I would love for you to go talk to a therapist. And he's like, of course not.
Yeah, they love to throw at us. We didn't do that back in our day. And how'd that work out for you? How'd that work out? We literally have a generation of adults all over the world trying to undo what y'all didn't do back in your day.
Exactly.
We're literally sitting on people's couches trying to undo it.
Doing the work.
So that our kids don't have to do the same thing.
Yes.
What an amazing moment for your daughter to acknowledge that and go, like, I was having a bad day. Let me talk this out with somebody.
Exactly.
can't get to my mom right now. Or maybe I prefer to talk about this, with the person.
Right.
That's what they're there for. That's why they got school counselors. The school
That's right.
counselors probably back in the 50s and 60s, either they
Even
weren't
back
there.
in our day. Even back in our day, we had school counselors, and I never went to go talk to a school counselor.
I couldn't tell you I thought my school counselor was supposed to tell me what kind of electives I need to take.
I was about to say, me too. They were there to tell us what classes to take. That's all I knew.
Not like to talk us through, some emotional stuff that we're having,
Exactly.
which is riddled. School is like teenagers, and there's a whole bunch of not reasons, but there's a whole bunch of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff that needs to be unleashed in high school.
Exactly.
Middle school. Yeah, for sure.
And it ain't just bullying.
It's not. It's home like stuff. Yeah.
Home stuff. Or how do you walk a 13-year-old through their first heartbreak? They got to go to their next period after they just saw their crush,
hanging with there's so much going on. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you need a counselor. And if that's a testament to you and your parenting, or just our generation in general, and us trying to do differently. To be like, yeah, it's absolutely okay. And I want my kids to know that they can, if you can't talk to me, I'm not going to get my feelings hurt. Go talk to them.
Exactly. Yep.
Talk it out some way.
It's funny. I always say, go ahead and get your childhood traumas out in your childhood. So when you're an adult, there's no undoing. Like, you already undo it. You have an even playing field. And you can just jump. I just want to see you jump and do it without any childhood traumas to work through.
Or when I think about how invincible I could have been if I came into who I really was. If I came into who I'm trying to be right now in my 20s, listen, Michelle Obama could never, because I would have been in that seat. I wouldn't have just been first lady. I would have been POTUS. If I came into my real self, but we didn't know. And so to me, when I think about if I could do like a panel before a group of 18-year-olds, or not even 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds. Yeah. And they say, hey, what piece of advice would you give to everybody in the room? I'd be like, as soon as you turn 18, get therapy. Even if you think you don't need it. If you've never done it before, if you have done it, continue on. But because you will find out so much about yourself that will prepare you, because this whole thing called life is really about you being who you were destined and called to be. And you can't be that if you're living in mask, if you're living with a mask on that you don't even know you have on. I spent 20 years of my life sleepwalking. I really felt like I was sleepwalking. Like, I look back on my 20s and 30s, and it's just a bunch of days going to working in retail to pay to go to the club, rinse and repeat. That was pretty much all of my 20s. And then my 30s, it was just like, oh, it's time to get married. So I got married and had kids. So all of my 30s was married and had kids. And now one day in my 40s, I'm waking up, and now I'm like, I've been asleep all this time. Yeah. What do you wake people do? What do you do amongst the awoken?
I know. Yeah.
Had I known that, going into my 20s, how much more powerful.
How much better your life would have been, the things that you know now, if you could have done that in your 20s. For me, it's kind of like, my daughter's 13, and she's going to go to college next year. She's doing like a dual college course because she wants to be a doctor. So we're like, we need to go ahead and get you to knock out these classes early, so like when you're actually going to med school, you don't have that much time left. Starting at 13?
I could actually fangirl over your daughter. She's the prototype, okay? Because, go ahead, sis. Go off.
Go off. My thing is, I wish someone was there for me. Like, what do you want to do? How can I help you? What do we need to get you into? For me, my life has always been about one aspect. I hate it because it's like, I feel like I put my dreams aside to do for them. But then two is like, well, I also want to break that generational curse too, because I chose to have them. I'm a mom. I chose to. And it's like, what are you going to do to make sure that they don't do what you've done? So they know about all of my heartbreaks. They know about all of my avoidant tendencies. They know why mom is in the situation that she's in. I've apologized to them for choosing their fathers. You know, I felt like I could have done better, but I didn't know better to do better.
Yeah.
I know better now enough to tell them to do better, and I expect for them to do better. I'm not going to be my dad.
After I tell the room of 17-year-olds to get therapy, the next thing I'd say is to vet every person. Like, even the people that you think you just gonna date, vet them all.
Yeah.
You don't want to waste a minute on somebody that's not supposed to be there. Not even a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean,
because it's going to shape you.
It is. It shapes you. It impacts you. I'm looking back on, I won't even say the great loves of my life. When I'm looking back on a lot of the loves or relationships that I had, I'm like, imagine they wouldn't have had a chance had I not been insecure, had I not had low self-esteem, had I not been avoidant, fearful, had I not, because I would have. And then sometimes I can look back at the moment when I should have walked away. You were the reason. There's a reason, season, or a lifetime. You were just supposed to be a reason. I made you a season.
Yes.
Dude, I made you a lifetime because now I'm attached to these two men for the rest of my life,
The worst part about even those situations is I think about those moments where I detached from the person physically, but then emotionally I carried them for the next 5 to 10 years. So it's like I feel like I carried emotionally stuff for 5 to 10 years more than even the relationship lasted. And that's the scary part is people are holding on to things that are affecting them in ways that they don't even know because they're still holding on to it and they're not doing the work to release it. It's just I'm just going to move on. Time heals all wounds. We'll pretend like it didn't happen. Time doesn't heal.
It does not. It makes it worse if you don't do the work.
If you don't do the work, you're just hiding it under bed. It's kind of like I'm going to clean up tomorrow, but I just stuff everything in the closet. And every time I do that, every week I stuff the closet. At one point, I'm going to open the closet. The closet's just going to be full. You didn't clean anything. You just stuffed everything in the closet. At some point you have to, if you want to go in that closet, you have to clean it out. Exactly. And now it's this high. Where before you could have just taken everything out the closet and just, put it away when you needed to. So I think that's one of the things that people kind of forget too is there's no such thing as time healing. You need to take the time now for you to heal, for you to unpack that stuff, for you to be able to face that stuff we don't want to face because that's what avoidance do. We avoid. We don't want to face it. Yeah. But when you're able to unpack it, that's when you start healing.
I would like to share where I was able to start the journey. Like the whole point of this conversation, I'm still on it. But when you talk about avoidant with my and the reason why I keep referencing my youngest son's father because he's my most recent ex. I haven't really been involved with anybody since him. He was not somebody that my family cared about. So the relationship was a lot of isolating from my family and connecting with him, but also being ashamed to talk about him to anybody, even my therapist. And because most of the time when I would talk about, like, even after we broke up, I walked away from it. So even after we broke up, I couldn't talk to my family because the few times that I tried to was like, well, don't go back to something that God blessed you, delivered you from, or he was a bum. Why would you do that? Or you don't need that. And I'm like, I carried a lot of shame around talking about him. Then I reconnected with she was my best friend when I was in my 20s. And I can't even remember why we reconnected, but we reconnected and we started talking a lot. But I remember she had a similar situation with me. She was with her ex then, who's now her husband. But I was one of the people that was telling her she could do better. And so I played the part in isolating her from people that cared about it. And so when I'm talking to her about my situation, she was so compassionate and empathetic and she told me it's okay to still love him. And I think
Mhm.
that that's the part that I was missing when everybody else was silencing me, like leave him alone,
Mhm.
don't, you know. But
Yeah.
it's like, but how do I cut off the man that's the father of my 3-year-old? We're not talking about
Right.
like, I can't not interact with this dude. But
Right.
I realized that I had been avoiding talking about him. I had been avoiding my feelings for him. I had been avoiding my hurt regarding him
Mhm.
because and even though my therapist was a safe space, it wasn't until I talked to my friend and she was like, it's okay to love him and you talk about him as much as you need to talk about him to me. And then I brought it to my therapist and she was like, I didn't know, you know, because I hadn't shared that part. I had been hiding that part because
I know.
he was like, well, let's
Yeah.
revamp our
Yeah.
approach so
Yeah.
that you can feel safe to talk about him. And it was then when I started beginning the healing process. But it had been 2 years. I had been broken up with him for 2 years before I talked to my friend. And so now here I am, like I could have been over this if I would have had a safe space 2 years ago to talk about it. And then I'd be like, well, girl, I'm back out there and I believe in love and I'm about to meet my person. And whereas now I'm still unpacking all the stuff that I should have unpacked 2 years ago when I was avoiding. Like, even when I think about avoiding, I was avoiding my feelings. Like, I didn't even want to admit that I still loved him because why would you still love him? You know, that was the shame that I carried. That was the shame that I carried with me because I knew that it wasn't that he was a bad person. I just knew that we had came on bad times and we were unaligned and we had to, you know.
Interesting. And I'm gonna say this. I'm glad you shared that. Mainly because I know we've already talked that we have very similar, very, very similar stories.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have my first daughter is by my ex-husband, and my second daughter is by someone else I talked to 7 years later after my ex-husband. I got with him. And it's very funny that you even mentioned that because in therapy, I did the exact same thing. A lot of what I felt I had gone through was because of my first husband. So when I talked in therapy, it was mainly about him. I have just recently, in the last 2 years myself, even though that relationship with my youngest father was 10, 11 years ago, I have just recently started unpacking what happened with him. And I think I really had to sit with myself and try to figure out why. Because I thought that I wasn't as traumatized by him as I was my ex-husband. Only to realize now I very much was. And I had to sit with myself and realize it was because I felt let down because I thought I was doing better with my second. And I realized I was in a space where I wasn't ready to even be in that situation with him.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of it was my own shame. It was my own guilt for putting myself in that situation with this man when I wasn't fully healed and accepting someone who was only, like I told you, from the sewer to the street, just a tad bit better than my first one. So I think a lot of it was shame and a lot of it was also that he let me down. Like, I thought I was doing better with this man and this man really let me down. And I still have moments, girl. I mean, just 2 days ago, I was just thinking about something where, because this man hasn't worked in like the last 5 years. And I've been just doing for her. And I haven't put him on child support because he didn't have a job. And I'm just kind of like, but why not? Why is it on me? Why was this all on me? Why have I been such a people pleaser? Why have I been so afraid of him for so long that I haven't even put this man on child support? That I'm, like I'm learning that I still have some issues, even when it comes to him, that I'm going through.
I think
So
for
yeah,
me,
for you, yeah. No, I'm just saying, just for you to say like I didn't even bring him up. It's because I think for me, and maybe for you as well, it was the shame of like, how did I allow this to happen 2 times? Not was it just once, but now I got 2 men who I want to say really are not no good. As much as they would like to,
you're no good, you're no good.
yeah. So then it's like, what does that say about me? And I had to forgive myself for who I was in that moment.
Yeah.
I really want to just go back and hug that girl who did not know any better, who was okay with allowing these type of men into her life, because this woman right here knows she deserves so much more.
Yeah.
And when you go back and look at them and you're like, wow, like, what was I thinking? And I apologize to my children. I apologize to them. Apologize to them, because the type of woman I am, they never deserve that as the type of fathers that they are receiving, you know? So I have to own that. And I think for the longest time, I didn't want to. That was that avoidant. That was an avoidant in me. That was too shameful. That was a big accountability sweet pill to swallow.
A big horse pill.
That was a big one.
Listen.
That I chose that.
I think for me, the shame that I carried was because for me, with my ex-husband, I felt like I did it all right. You know, we dated, we were on and off for some years, but when we finally got back together, we got married before we had.
Based off of what?
Right. Well, I have a very religious background. So
exactly.
Right, meaning like we dated, we got married, then we had kids. I felt like I followed the roadmap.
The trajectory of what you were supposed to do.
What it's supposed to do. And not even just according to the church, but according to worldly standards, you know?
Yeah.
And so when that failed, I didn't trust myself after that failure not that I didn't trust myself, but when I got with my other son's father, and things didn't work out with him, I was like, I couldn't make what was supposedly done right work, and then I couldn't make what was done wrong work. And then for me, I felt like the shame that I was carrying was I felt like I was living like a quote unquote dumb 20-year-old's life. In my 40s, you know, I did it the wrong way. I had the child out of wedlock, and you know, I had to get assistance to help me because, you know, I couldn't work because, you know, I didn't have no child care. And so, whereas with my ex, we did it right. We was both working. We had a caregiver. We had, you know, and so that was where a lot of my shame was. I couldn't talk to my therapist because I felt embarrassed even about that, you know. Like, she'll listen to me and she'll be there for me, but I think she'll be secretly judging me.
Yeah. It's because you judged yourself.
I was judging myself.
Because you were judging yourself. Yeah.
And so when I connected with my friend who didn't judge me at all, then it was like, oh, maybe it's me. Maybe it's my shame. Let me present my shame as well in therapy. Let me work through my shame as well.
Yes.
Because
you have to work through that shame, girl. That's the avoidance.
Shame and guilt.
Shame and the guilt.
Man. And you don't think like there's nothing in your brain that's telling you you're ashamed.
Yeah.
Oh, you're guilty. It's very, what it is, it sits way in the back of your, you know, your psyche. It's like very subtle, but it's coming out.
When you bring it out, you feel it.
Actions. Yeah.
You feel it here. That's what, whenever, and then I started to realize whenever I start talking about something I'm ashamed of, I start feeling it here, I have to stop and say, ooh, what? Oh, that's it. Once you can name it, then you're like, ooh, I gotta work through this. It's kind of like sometimes I would do stuff online and somebody would make a comment and it would hit me a certain way, and I'm like, ooh, what's that feeling? Like, and if I break it down, it was maybe this person's right. That was maybe this person hit, because it hit a nerve.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, oh, this hit a nerve. And instead of being like defensive, because that's the avoidance get defensive. Instead of being defensive, I would sit in it and say, is there some truth here? And then I would break it down. And then I'm like,
would it hit me that hard if there wasn't truth in it?
Yes. And sometimes there's no truth in it. Sometimes it's just somebody being a bitch. And it's
just
like
a troll. They just trolling for the spirit of trolling. Like, good day, troll.
Exactly. Sometimes it's just a troll, but when you're in your healing space, you're able to recognize, okay, is there something there? Is there some truth in this? And is this something I need to dig deep into? Or is this person just being a troll and I need to block and delete because they're just being mean and ugly, right? Filling that space sometimes is good.
And it's sharpening that tool. I think if I'm looking at you and I'm listening to all the things that you've been sharing, you've clearly sharpened that tool. Like I've pulled my tool out once or twice. You know, like I'll apply, like I'll have those moments, but a lot of times I'm still at that place where I have those moments and I'll just spiral inside and I'm like, but every now and then I'll be like, wait a minute. Okay, what did my therapist tell me about this? Okay, this is a core belief. This is a core belief that believes I'm not worthy. Why do I not believe I'm not worthy? What's the actual facts versus what I'm telling myself? But you just really have to keep using it and applying it and sharpening it. And, you know, I think that would be my biggest takeaway from, you know, this conversation and what we've been talking about is the importance of sharpening that tool, because a lot of people might think that it's an aha moment. Like, oh, I just woke up and I got it. I got it. Got it. Maybe because of the movies. The movies always has that moment, that climax. What is that? Where they hit that climax and then it's like, I can see clearly now the rain.
Right. The blinders are off.
Exactly.
Yes,
and she lived happily ever after. And it's like, no, she didn't. No, she didn't. She made the same mistake again.
Yes.
A little bit along down the line, and then she fixed it, and then she made another mistake, and then she fixed it, and then she
and you have to be willing to make the mistakes.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to make the mistakes. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. Not one time, not 2 times, not 3 times. It took me 4 times after my 5th. After those 5 years, right? It took me 4 times where I thought I was in love. 4 times I thought, this is it. This is the one. Only to find out 3 of those 4 were not anxious. 3 of those 4 were avoidance. And again, I was going back to what was safe for me in spaces. Now, one of those guys was actually healing too, which helped me a lot.
Yeah.
But we just found out we were both healing and avoidant. Healing and avoidant. So it could never go anywhere.
Iron was not sharpening iron in that.
Not in that part. But instead of doing what I would have done, which was jump to the next person.
Yeah.
I sat in, why am I continuing to attract these types of men? I sat in it because I needed to sit in it to see what am I doing wrong? Because I keep attracting these types. What is it about me that's doing this? Right? So you're not going to just learn from the first time. I call it building muscle. You build it. You have to be okay with building the muscle. You have to be okay. That's the only way you're going to learn to spot the signs.
Yeah.
Now I realize if I ask a question and a person deters or defers the question and they're like, oh, you know, like, oh no, my life was great. Okay. We have an emotional availability problem. You're not willing to go deep. You're not willing to talk about things. You're afraid. That's okay, because maybe I'm not a safe space right now. But if we get into what I call a safe space, where a lot of times a safe space is like pillow talk, especially for men. If we're at pillow talk stage and you still don't feel comfortable talking to me about certain things, then you're just emotionally unavailable. And this probably isn't going to work because there's no depth to our relationship. Yeah. We're not able to talk about things. I can't tell you anything because I don't feel safe talking to you. Right. You definitely aren't telling me anything because you don't feel safe talking to anybody. It's not just me. It's not a me thing. It's a them thing. Yeah. And it's never going to go anywhere.
Right.
Never.
What are some of the questions when you're like trying to not necessarily test the waters, but what are some of the questions that you try to gauge if they're going to go deep or if you might be dealing with somebody, like you said, an emotional availability problem?
It's funny because that's not something that you can force on people. You know, you still have to build a rapport with someone, and that still takes time, right? But what I have learned is when you ask people questions about their childhood and they give you surface level stuff like, oh yeah, you know, I used to play baseball and when I was in college, and they'll give you the highlights, right? Yeah. But then when you guys are talking about something sad, like I said something one time, one guy I was talking to, I told him, you know, that I was divorced, and he said, so what was your first marriage like? And I said, oh, well, he was very abusive. And he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. We don't have to talk about that." And I said, "Oh, no, it's okay. You know, I've moved on from it. I'm okay talking about it." And then he was just like, yeah, kind of like, but yeah, I don't want to. He just pressed the subject to something else. Because it was like, if I'm vulnerable, guess what? Remember we talked about this.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I'm vulnerable and I'm open, what does that mean for that person?
Yeah.
That means that they
They don't
possibly
want to
have
be
to be too.
vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're opening up and then that person shuts down, or that person doesn't open up, or they don't have like a story that's like, oh yeah, because that's natural when you're building with someone. If I tell you a story about me, sometimes that's more natural. You're like, oh girl, let me tell you, girl, yes, that reminds me.
That is
of
so
this one
annoying
time.
when people do not return the question to me like that. I'm prepared for the answer. That's why I gave you the question. I'm waiting for my turn too.
Yes. And if you don't get it, you are going to just share too, right? That's one of
Yeah.
those things like, well, we're talking about this, so your turn.
Exactly.
I call it the tennis match. We're going
Yeah.
back and forth. If it's just me and he's just not doing, and he's just listening, which is okay. The first time, I'll give you a pass. Because some people don't open up like that. It
Yeah.
takes people a little bit of time. By the third month is my max. That's when people's masks, they can't hold the mask anymore, and there's a reason for that. By that time, if we haven't opened up and you aren't telling me, or you're not as vulnerable as I am with you, then you're letting me know that you are emotionally unavailable. What I have noticed from more secure people, they are willing to have that conversation.
Yeah.
There's no off limits. They aren't avoiding the questions. You ask them a question, they answer it. Then they ask you a question. It's easy.
There you go.
When you start feeling the resistance, when you start feeling anxious, that's when you know you have a problem. Your anxiousness is coming from, I've been here before. This is my emotional availability meeting his emotional availability, and this isn't really what I want. I really want a safe space. And this anxiousness is telling me that this isn't safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I was recently just talking to, he was an old friend. We used to be something like back when we was 18, and we kind of tried to circle back a couple of times and it just never clicked. But I was talking to him now, we're like as friends, and he was telling me like one of the moments that we had. He was like, when you said such to me, you know, that really, I had to start self-reflecting. Now for me, when somebody starts talking about self-reflecting, attach something to that like, oh, I'm in therapy, or oh, I've gone to this retreat, or I read this book, or heck, even I listened to this podcast, then I'm a little weary, because you can't do it on your own. Most people think they can. And so
Most people do.
Him, I was like, so what did you learn about yourself? Because you had this aha moment. What did you learn?
Good.
So he kind of came back with like, yeah, I learned that I'm a procrastinator. I was like, what the?
That's what you learned? Right.
That's all you learned?
Right.
I was like, sir, we all procrastinate. What are you talking about? Like, that's not a learning. And I realized like, oh, you don't want to share.
Right.
Because if one or two things either happen, is it's too vulnerable of a space and you don't want to open that up, or you're full of it. You didn't learn anything, and you just was like, whoa, I need an answer. Let me pull an answer. It kind of reminds me of like when I was being taught as like a teenager how to interview, when they said they're always going to ask you, you know, what's your strong point, but they're going to ask you what your weakness
is
can't
too.
lie about your weakness, because we all have one. You got to give them something, you know, surface. And that's what it felt like. I was like, oh, you're giving me your bull crap answer and not your. And I'm like, what for? We ain't trying to do nothing. You ain't got no reason to hide from me now. I'm not going there with you. I learned my lesson 2 or 3 times we tried. So
when you're healed, vulnerability is sexy. That's one thing I've noticed. Vulnerability is sexy because you're not running away from it either. So when you hear it, when you see it, it's sexy to you. You're like, safe space. Now, some people will use, I've seen some incidences recently where somebody said that they use vulnerability as a weapon. It was weaponized vulnerability, where someone will tell you something very close to their heart, like a traumatic event that happened to them, right? And you may listen and you think this person's being open, they're being vulnerable, they're telling me a traumatic event. But the problem with that is they'll come back around and then they'll use it against you from the standpoint of like, wait, didn't I remember I told you about that thing that happened to me? That's the reason why I don't want to talk about this, or this is the reason why I'm so closed off, or why I don't do X, Y, and Z. So you do have to be careful about people who do just use vulnerability as a weapon.
Ish. We out here weaponizing vulnerability. Golly.
Apparently, some people are weaponizing vulnerability out here. Ish. But I think once you realize, okay, you need to see reciprocity.
Right.
Can I give and also receive? That's what you want. You want to be able to feel like I have a safe space to talk to somebody, and they also have a safe space to talk to me. And then that's when you know when you're in a safe space versus just somebody telling you what happened to them, but they're not willing to listen or offer a safe space to what happened to you.
Well, I found that one of the most key components to vulnerability is listening.
Is listening.
It's like, you share your part too, but are you able to listen and not listen to respond? Like, oh, when it's my turn, I'm going to say this. But to really listen and feel what that meant to them, how it impacted them. And then kind of pick up on how it might be driving them as a person, how they might possibly show up in a relationship with you. When you mention somebody who weaponized vulnerability, I think of somebody who verbally vomits on you way too quick, and you're
way too early.
We on the first date, and I remember this one guy, we had just went from the app to talking on the phone, and he's telling me about his mom used to abuse him. And
my gosh, I've had that. You think you're a therapist.
Yeah, and I'm like, I just asked you what kind of food you like to eat. I remember when my mom took me to the pizza place and she left me there for 14 hours, and I'm like,
what? I just met you.
I just was trying to think of what's a spot that we like the same food.
Exactly. Yes, I had a guy crying to me, and I don't know what he was talking about.
Oh no!
I have no. At the end of it, he was crying. And I came back to the phone and hello? I'm thinking, hello, because I had spazzed out. And then he's like, you're so easy to talk to. I really like talking to you.
You were talking, the air is easy to listen to.
Oh my God. I felt so bad for him because I had no clue what he was crying about at the end of it. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to come back to this conversation ever again with him. But luckily, I just stopped talking to him because, sir, you're doing a lot of talking. So you're right. That listening component is very important.
It is. You have to. Because let me tell you, I'm listening. I'm going to listen to you. And if you try and bring something else up that don't match up with what you said before, I'm like, wait a minute. That's not what you said before.
Wait a minute now.
Totally different now. But I think I learned that from my call center days when they was training us. They called it active listening.
Active listening, yeah.
You have to listen to what they're saying, and even sometimes listen to what they're not saying. Because
yes, indeed.
There too. Okay.
Oh, I love that part. Listening to what they're not saying.
Man, it's real because a lot of times it's you can say, oh, they're talking about something that their mom did, but they're leaving out. I thought you said you had siblings. Where were your siblings in this? Or, I noticed that you skipped over that part. I guess I can get kind of hyper focused on context. I like it all.
Yeah.
Give me the whole picture. Because that's what you need. When people give little bits and pieces or little spurts, it's you spend a lot of time trying to figure out, or you feel like there's something, I'm missing something. Why do I feel like I'm missing something? So context it plays a big part for me.
Yes, indeed.
I am listening.
Yes, indeed. Well, girl, I have to get out of here. The girls have been really good for us because we've been talking almost 2 hours now.
Have we really? Lord help.
Yeah.
We've only been recording for an hour.
Yeah, we've only been recording for an hour.
I forgot we did start talking.
We were talking, I think, at least 40 minutes before we start. I hit the record button. So.
Okay, well, it's always amazing. Such good conversation. Always flows good.
Yes.
Thank you for having me once again.
I thank you for coming on and just bringing the questions because, like I said, there's so many people who have the same questions. We're going through the same things. You know, if you have a question, there are so many people just like you, thousands others just like us going through the exact same thing. So I appreciate you coming on, asking the questions to help.
Yeah. Well, obviously, look at Google. If you start typing in 2 words to a question, it just starts feeding it to you because everybody else is having the same question.
Yeah, everybody had the exact same question.
It's a girl, Princess. No, I've had her for about a year.
Oh, I love my doggies. But yeah,
Sure.
look, she's like, all right, it's my time now. It's time to go. I heard that.
But I heard y'all wanted me to talk.
All right, girl.
We black.
And I want to thank everybody on Hello Me Is Me for joining us today. And on that note, I will talk to you guys later.
All righty. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, girl.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hello Me, It's Me with Nikki D. Lovely. Just remember, you can't change who you were yesterday, but you can always learn and grow to become a better version of yourself today. So make sure you do the mental work today for the future you tomorrow, and I will see you next week. And in the meantime, make sure that you check me out on my Instagram at Nikki D. Lovely. You can also find me at nikkidlovely.com and check out my book, No F Boys Allowed. Just a little shameless plug. But either way, I will see you guys next time, and thanks again. Bye.